Welcome to. I'm not going to do the regular opening because this is a random Black Myths podcast. So welcome to a Black Myth podcast remix. This is a random response video because y'all been bothering me, sending me messages about a thing, a thing that occurred. So I went and got Dr. Ball, who's much better at real time response than me, and we're gonna have fun with this one. So this is and then Ryan is here.
Yeah. What's up?
What's good, Ryan?
Yeah, what up?
And we should have another brother coming through who made a IG like reel based on our episode. It appears, and he referenced us. And no one ever references our channel, not just Black Myths, just really anything. Most people still our shit. A few people will reference us, FD and a few others, but a lot of people will just like make videos and get way more views than we ever will get, and act like they didn't watch. I mean, it's been so bad. One time, I won't say who did it, but one time somebody was reading an article we wrote on their episode and just didn't even quote us, and then invited someone else on to talk about the article and never referenced us. But so I always appreciate when people give us some respect. But
it's not hard either, man. It's not difficult. It's a real quick thing, man.
Yeah.
Salute the Black Myths and then keep it moving. It's not. That's it. We saw this on Black Liberation Media, and then you don't have to say nothing else. I think that's and that's a bare minimum. So yeah, so congrats on folks responding and recognizing, and yeah, I'm happy to join you. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, so what brings us here is again, it'll be one brother coming. I think I know say his name right, Molombo. He actually just did a video. Like I said, he did reference Black Myths in his description, and that was already at like 100,000. So I was like, hey, you want to come on? He says he's a fellow Black nerd, so we can have this conversation. So originally, for people who don't know, we did an episode, I think it was in 2024, on the comparison. There he is, on the comparison that Malcolm X and MLK are based, or that Xavier, Professor X, and Magneto are based on the conflict between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. So we did that in 24. It was not really trending at the time. We just did it. And then recently, as we'll get to here soon, somebody made the claim that it was based on that, and that Stanley himself told him this. So we're just gonna do kind of just a remix of what we already did, but much more, probably clowning even more than we did on that one. All right, what's up, bro?
What's good, everybody? Can you hear me?
What's good? What's good?
Peace.
Awesome. Excited to be here, everybody. This is cool. This is cool. Long time fan.
Thank you. We were just saying how you were one of the few people who actually referenced the shit that we do. Most of the time, people will take an analysis. They don't even act like they didn't watch the show when it's like, bar for bar, basically what we said. So, so appreciate it. Would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, no problem. What's good, everybody? My name is Molombo. I'm a content creator, musician, activist. I'm also the founder of the first. Hopefully it's the first. Maybe my Google search didn't do enough. But first Pan-African tabletop role-playing game called Zyru. I'm a big Pan-Africanist, which is why the pod kind of gravitated towards my sector things. And yeah, just like Two Black said, your Magneto and Professor X breakdown, which was great. I listened to it a year ago, and when I saw the acclaimed Instagram video, I'm glad I had the info to back it up. Happy to be here.
All right, I'm gonna play. We're gonna play Godfrey's video, and then I'm gonna play your video, and then we can get into it. Does that work for everybody?
Sounds good to me.
All right, bet. Let me pull it here.
And folks have and just it I think I saw Ricky correctly say in the chat that Black Liberation Media is remonetized.
Yep.
So folks, feel free to our Google overlords have let us back out to play. So let's go ahead and take advantage of it. And we could talk more about that another time, why we think or how we think that happened, but it has happened. So feel free to do all the things and hype the video and all the whatever is available. But just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. That's what I get for having this on a different browser. All right, everybody see that?
Yep.
All right.
The X-Men is about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yes.
Magneto is Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King is Xavier.
He's
Is Dr. Xavier. Their philosophies were that's where he got it from.
Yeah.
It's all a lot of stuff is from Black stories. And they just kind of Superman is the Egyptian about Osiris, like power from the sun. Same thing.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, I read all.
I love that.
That's great. That to me, by the way, was the most wild claim.
I was with
that
Stan
video.
Lee. I'm bragging about it because I don't care if you didn't meet Stan Lee, you can't with me.
Yeah.
Stan Lee, I was in his office for 3 hours. He was 89 years old. My friend went on a break, said, "Yo, hang out with Stan." I'm sitting with Stan Lee. I said, like, what the fuck? He goes, "Godfrey, I want to show you something here. You see this picture of Wesley Snipes, big ass picture of Snipes with the blade." He goes, "He's the reason why Marvel got out of bankruptcy. It was him.
Wow.
It was because we had Blade. Blade is the reason he saved Wesley." And I go, "And we ain't seen another Blade in 25 goddamn years."
Crazy.
But they got 18 Spider-Mans, 90 this, and Wesley Snipes saved. But this is how fucked up this business is.
Yep. Look at that.
Eddie Murphy saved SNL. Bill Cosby saved NBC. In Living Color changed the halftime for Fox.
Oh.
Michael Jackson saved the halftime of Super Bowl in
Still
1993.
the most watched Super Bowl of all time.
Black people sell.
Super Bowl halftime. So.
We sell. It's just that they just can't get it out of their heads. They think we just can't give them too much because they'll do something. We're not going to act like you. We're not like that.
No,
we like to see everybody win. We ain't like you.
Yeah.
And it's pathetic. It's like black people sell. They didn't think black people sold overseas. It was like, you guys don't sell. But then Black Panther gets $1 billion. And then I was in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is the only movie we've let in. Because they ban all American in Saudi. They go, "Oh, no, Black Panther. Yalla, yalla."
When I look at your role and how you
I enjoyed the overall premise of his argument, the idea that we are constantly told by other capitalist individuals that Black people aren't marketable, and the receipts say otherwise. I just wish he didn't preface this because we all know Superman's a Moses story. I've never heard of this Osiris claim.
Yeah.
I never heard it either.
And I'm not even familiar with that one. My bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I mean, because I've always understood the traditional story being it was an allegory for the Jews that created Superman. That it was the whole thing of masking oneself in the society in which you find safety and salvation. And that's why they get the Clark Kent and all of that. So unless it's connected to the importance of Moses to the Jewish mythology, humbly as I would phrase it, then But other than that, but the whole Osiris piece and everything else, and then just quickly, Black people, of course, are essential always to the pop culture and of this country from day one. So the idea of Black people selling is not really a novel point. The point is, in what form would they be sold? And that was that was the note I meant. I said off air what I was trying to. I referenced something you said, Ryan, in your original Black Myth video on this. And I didn't understand my note until I just made that point there. But you had made that point in that original video. And that's why I wrote down this note about Ryan and the presentation of Black liberation in pop culture is a misrepresentation, something to that effect. But it's the preferred version that whites would want to see. So whites have never had really a problem buying, pop culture produced involving Black people. In fact, they love that. They mimic that. They copy that. But it's in what form? So yeah. But anyway, yeah. But yeah. But I'm happy to hear more. About
yeah. I mean, we'll get to why that claim is ridiculous. Why one, it's not true, and why even if it, let's just say for the sake of argument that even if Stan Lee and them did design this off based on that, it's a poor allegory. It's a poor comparison. It doesn't even actually hold up, even if that was true, right? But we'll get to that. Right. But yeah, it's just, I think a lot of this, especially when we did the research, it just revealed how they even view Black liberation, like, so the this binary, this kind of a Biggie and Pac explanation of Black politics, this top there, give me your top 5 energy, like it's just a real bastardization. It turns it into some kind of barbershop debate or something, and it's a failure to really understand either side, to even understand the historical moment. And I think even when we turn it into that contrast, sometimes like when we did the research, like the contrast that people have created today was not exactly how this was playing out in real time, like when Malcolm X was assassinated, there wasn't some national mourning by many people, right? Like, he's taken up by certain individuals that I think helps him live on. And he was also very international, which helped him, because in the United States, he was not, very beloved by
a lot of people
people.
had that he died by the sword, he lived by the sword, he died by the sword type thing. So yeah. But have any three of you, because I haven't, but have any of the three of you sat with Stan Lee? Because otherwise we might not be qualified for this conversation.
I remember
Can we
doing
just
that video a little bit before we started recording, and then that point that really stuck out of my mind. If you didn't meet with Stan Lee, you can't fuck with me. It's like, okay, bro. All right, bro. Whatever. All right, you want to flex, whatever. But it's like, I think I said in the episode, the original episode with talking about Malcolm X, Martin Luther King being compared to Magneto and Professor Xavier. It kind of just flattens our radical figures and reduces them to these, like Black said, these binaries. And also, I feel like discourages people from really trying to learn about the figures in the first place. They think you can just go ahead and pick up a comic or a comic book movie and think you can know everything there is to know about the ideology of MLK and Malcolm X, which is some bullshit.
Yeah, it's insulting. Like, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But I mean, for us, the reason why we did this originally was just because, like I was saying, it's this poor understanding of history in general that it leads to. So if you read the comments on the video, people are like, man, I didn't know that. See, they always stealing our shit and and people don't even sit and think about how does this actually even represent these two individuals if it were true at all. Like, again, this is a poor representation. If Magneto was Malcolm X, it's not a good representation. And same thing with Professor X. Like, these are not people we should really strive to want to be anyway, so it's just like even the folklore doesn't make sense.
I would say there's also another layer, definitely agreed. Another layer in terms of, because it's much more valuable in understanding that Jewish authors are, of course, going to pull from their own background. The X-Men make a lot more sense as an allegory to, like, Professor Xavier grew up in a mansion in Westchester, and the X-Men's whole environment simulates the idea of what the authors went through, where they were prep boys who had to hide their Jewish identity.
Yeah.
Like, this is a much more better one-to-one, but the idea that this is so unsellable of a background that they're like, no, they're Black actually is it's kind of funny. And the other layer of Stan Lee got to stop capping. I just know the mindset of this man, seeing Godfrey right there and telling him this bold-faced lie that Blade saved the Marvel Universe, when we all know Spider-Man 1 is what saved the Marvel cinema. Like, is this I feel like this isn't a brain dead thing. It's the reason why Sony today will never let go of Spider-Man. It's too valuable of an IP. They're willing to like Fox was ready to give a Blade.
Yeah, and Blade did well. Blade kind of was like the beginning of Marvel movies being successful. But yeah, like Superman or Spider-Man is what saved it. I mean, some of the stuff he said about NBC and the Cosby Show, that actually is true. Like NBC was in the tank before the Cosby
And
Show.
Living Color saved, or at least helped
Yeah.
Fox greatly when it was launching and all of that, like, you know, and all that. So yeah, but again, black cultural product has done well for white owners forever. So again, that's not really
It's not
the
novel.
point. Is
Yeah.
did the Cosby Show help black people? Did Even Living Color, which I happen to enjoy greatly, did it help black people? Did it produce revolution? I mean, in other words, Fox still was the primary beneficiary. NBC was still the primary beneficiary, and those class and racial groups were still the primary beneficiaries. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's an old showbiz trick. I mean, I think one of the Wayans brothers. No, it was actually the guy that played Simba as a kid. What's his name? Jason Weaver. Who's also played Michael Jackson in the Michael Jackson movie that was on VH1. He was saying how, I mean, there's an interview of him saying how like channels do this thing where when they're trying to revive it, this is what WB did back in the day. They have a black slate, and you know that's how you got Steve Harvey and the Wayans brothers and Sister and all that, and they revive the channel. And then once they get their money up, you know, once they get the views up, then they just move you out. You know, it's kind of like it's kind of a gentrification effect in a way. Like you like revive the thing, and then you raise the rent basically, and then you kick them out. You know, so it's just like that's the entertainment industry. I mean, they've done that with music. You know, like you said. So and it's also like, why are we begging for them to see us as marketable? You know, like that's another thing that
That's a good point.
I'm racking my brain over because I could have sworn I remember reading an article suggesting that there was an FBI document that showed during the, I would say probably post Black Panthers era, where the FBI made a document saying that we needed that Black radicalization could happen less often if there was more representation of Black people within American entertainment. I see this as so we see things like the Cosby Show as some sort of de-radicalization method. Okay, Americans are being introduced to like the average Black American if they think every Black American lives like the Cosby shows. I guess that's my answer to see what did the Cosby Show actually do. But oh my God, there was it brings me back to the other layer of I'm blanking on this, guys. Let's see, de-radicalization methods. It was I'll come back to me. I have it. I'm gonna cook. I swear I'm gonna cook.
It's you bring that up though. There was a book that Cosby himself actually funded. I remember reading this in college. It was called Enlightened Racism, the Cosby Audience and the Myth of the American Dream. And the books, it was like a sociological study, and they actually found that people watched that show. They did a more of a qualitative study, and they found by people watching that show, it actually led to them believing that racism was less of a problem. Like this was actually, yeah, like the book actually, like it proved this out. Like they interviewed people, and they found that the people that watched it thought it was the very thing that we've always hear, where, you know, well, why can't they be like them? You know, like
I'm
now
still,
I remember the quote, Kwame Ture, civil rights wasn't for Black people because Black people didn't need to be convinced of their own humanity. Boom.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right.
Fire quote.
I like I still like, you know, Suj Ali, the media scholar that I like a lot, talked about the Cosby effect, in part in oversimplifying, and because I don't fully remember it properly, but part of the point was that Cosby was designed to appease and appeal to white affluent audiences and make them feel comfortable with a version of blackness that would be not threatening and more welcoming. And that's why you never saw, during the run of the show, I remember one of the points he makes is that you didn't see, like, there was very little politics. Like, one of the worst things that happened is Theo smokes a joint. There's like no discussion of South Africa and apartheid. There's no, like, none of these things were like coming up, and none of the, it was just.
I think I remember in that book they said Theo had an anti-apartheid poster on his door.
Okay.
And they said Cosby had to fight just to keep that in the.
Oh, really? Okay.
No mention, no conversation about
it.
Right.
Right. Just the poster on the door.
Yeah. Just like your book behind you or something, like having to fight to keep keep that on. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I like that Jali points out is that he says the Cosby effect is what also gave the blueprint for Obama and how to present oneself to mass white audiences in a way that doesn't pique their fears of blackness, and certainly radical blackness. Yeah, and then it just produces this fantasy of a middle class affluent family that should be the goal and the aspiration. And to the extent that black communities didn't reach that goal, it was their fault.
Yeah. When are we going to get the black president that uses Fresh Prince as a blueprint? Like, I'm waiting for that.
No, I want the one that uses Richard Pryor's SNL sketch. As the blueprint.
That's wild. I hear you saying that Cosby kind of portrayed an image of blackness that was I guess digestible to whites. Now it makes me wonder like how many other sitcoms and shows kind of fall in that vein. I mean, I'm thinking about even like
all of them.
Blackish. I'm thinking about
definitely.
Yeah, definitely Blackish.
I hate that show.
Yeah,
and Mixed Dish was even worse. The one episode I watched, I made it through one episode.
I've never seen Mixed Dish.
It was so
the title
atrocious.
Makes me queasy.
Yeah, it was.
I was never watching that.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm like, Mixed Dish. What is that?
They had a Jewish
like
show too, right? It was
Jewish.
I think it was so straight up because the wife was like half Jewish, right? Like,
oh yeah. You're right.
I think they did. I don't remember, but I know that they played off of that. I think I don't know if they had it or they had discussed it. I don't know.
That's wild.
I hated that entire universe, so I could never, I hated that. I mean, I hated that show with a passion. Ryan would tell you, like, you bring that shit up, I'd be like, the only thing that was good about it, I think they accidentally told on themselves sometimes. It was very much if you want to see the black liberal. Everybody called me white growing up, and now I'm the blackest person in the room. Like it had that kind of vibe to it. I don't think they realized they were doing it though. But then they did a spinoff, and they did try to take that Cosby model because they did a spinoff where the girl goes to college, like the different world kind of thing.
Dang, that was Grownish.
Grownish.
Wow.
Grownish. My little sisters unironically love that show, but What can you say in the mid?
We all get got at some point.
I mean, I like Different World. Like, it has a lot of problems, but I'm saying in terms of just as a show, like the Cosby Show, I can't live through that. I can't watch that anymore for obvious reasons.
And when they exactly. And when they reboot A Different World, I'm watching that too. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. I mean, that show at least tried it, not to say it was some radical show, but that show did at least try to deal with some actual issues that black people experience. Versus the Cosby Show, they always brag about how they like had black art and they sung, Ray Charles songs, and that was supposed to be some kind of, like some kind of thing. Again, the show is whatever, but I'm just saying, relatively speaking. But anyway, I'm not here we don't want to get too much into Cosby because that's a whole other show. So I kind of just based this off of our original episode. That is in the show notes for people. We already handled this. So this isn't going to be maybe as thorough as that one, but we're still going to hit the high notes. So I'm going to skip the kind of like on our episode, we demonstrated that this is this is a myth repeated in various circles like history.com. There's fan art about this. I'm gonna jump to the Stan Lee thing, since I guess if you sit with him, you know, he tells you something differently. So I'm gonna I'm gonna start with that, and then you know, we can just to show people what Stan Lee has said and how even what he says, it tends to change. And this quote was funny because it doesn't really even hold up. Um, where are we at? There's a Rolling Stone article. And the interviewer says, here we are. So I've read in many interviews where you talk about the beginning of X-Men, but I think the first thing to point out, the X-Men Avengers came in the same month. That's not it. Where, hold on. Make sure I get to the right. I did a little word search here. Hold on. Let's go. There we are. Yeah, were you aware that Professor X is more like MLK and Magneto is more like Malcolm X? Was this a conscious projection there? He says, I think it was certainly an unconscious feeling. So
Wow.
this already contradicts whatever he told Godfrey. And I never felt Magneto was 100% bad. I mean, there were reasons why he felt that way, but it was just up to Professor X to find some way to make him understand that he was on the wrong track. So this is already showing that Malcolm X was, according to them, was on the wrong track. So, you know, go ahead.
No, my bad. Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
And then this second one, and then we can talk on it. And the whole civil rights metaphor ended up defining the metaphor of X-Men. Did that come in the first few issues? He said it came along the minute I thought of X-Men and Professor X. I realized that I had that metaphor, which was great. It was given to me as a gift. I guess, you know, Yahweh struck him or something. It was given to me as a gift because it made the stories more than a good guy fighting a bad guy. This is false, as we'll get to.
But it's funny because that's a notorious Stan Lee problem. Writers say that he always liked having a binary system when he came to writing his stories. He's good, bad guy, that's it. He hated nuance. Like, even look at his depictions of like there's like a whole Stan Lee writes DC characters, and they're arguably worse. His version of Superman is a space cop who comes to Earth to keep being a cop. like Stan Lee loves binaries.
Wow. That's wild.
It's
So what I was thinking, the Godfrey thing has me. So this is to to the point of a minute ago. Some of the dumb stuff that I get caught up in. You know, one of my favorite shows is Veep, and what I think happened with Stan Lee and Godfrey is a racial reverse of a scene from Veep, where Julia Louis-Dreyfus is the vice president trying to get votes from the black community, and she goes to Keegan-Michael Key's black church. Thinking that she used to know his father and who used to flirt with her by saying to her that she was the blackest white woman he had ever met. And so she tries to run that line with Keegan-Michael Key and says, you know, this is what your father used to say to me. And Keegan was like, yeah, he used to say that to all the white girls he was trying to smash. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions on Stan Lee's intentions here, but it just feels like I'm gonna just tell Godfrey whatever he needs to hear so I can get from him whatever I need in the moment. And then when I go to this outlet, oh, it was just some background, maybe
it struck me from above.
Man, Godfrey just got in the green room.
Yeah,
he got nice.
It was given to me. You know, it's like, all right. I mean, this doesn't even these quotes, even in the two questions, don't actually add up. So one level, it was unconscious, and then the civil rights thing was immediately when you started coming up with the characters. So which one is it? You know, like it doesn't even make sense on his face. Like, which one is it? You know, like is it a thing that you realize later? Or is it something that you came to in that very moment when you invented these characters? But as we'll get to, these characters were not the versions that we come to know of these characters. Stan Lee had nothing to do with, you know, like Stan Lee had nothing to do with this, like the anti-hero of Magneto and him having this Holocaust backstory and all of that. Like it was a very strong binary, like we said. But Stan Lee will have you believing that it came to him, like you say, he's just kind of gonna give you whatever you want to hear. It's not necessarily gonna lead to any any real documentation of what went down.
Yeah, yeah. I think even in the original episode, I think me and Cam joked was like, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, Malcolm X, MLK. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah. So it's like we get to the original comics. I'm gonna probably have to share our outline to do that. But
the part I've never had a problem accepting in that myth, though, is that from the perspective of white liberals, this does read very much consistent with how they would engage these histories. Like they would want to distill Malcolm and Martin in this way. So the problem then becomes when Godfrey and others accept that distillation and then disseminate that to their black audiences as if the X-Men got this right. And when you approach Malcolm and Martin, you should basically start with Magneto and Professor X.
Yeah.
And it does give me very laundering vibes, very buying power vibes, financial literacy vibes. Like, take this white form of black liberation and give it to your audience. And then we never have to get upset or threatened. And it's like, so of course, yeah, I have no problem believing that they would even evolve out of this ether of consciousness, this desire to have Magneto be Malcolm X, because the real Malcolm X was terrifying to them. And I even made a note in preparing for today that this was the problem that we had with Wendy Wolf in the Marable book. That Wendy Wolf of Viking Press in her presentation says, when I was terrified of Malcolm X. But now you want to be the one that gives us the authoritative history on Malcolm so that you feel better. Like, this is a problem. This is a problem.
And a gross misunderstanding of why Malcolm X even had a separatist era. It was just a form of that self-defense. When you think about the psychological environment, what it meant to be a black person within that era. And also just a misunderstanding of who Magneto was. It's wrong. It's wrong on both accounts. And I think also just what you said about white liberals, they still have a tinge of right-wing thought process. It harkens back to great replacement theory, that the idea that, oh no, this is what Malcolm X actually wanted. It's a gross misunderstanding all the way, 100%.
Yeah, Malcolm wants to kill us all like Magneto, and Malcolm is, foaming at the mouth, and but and that's the real split, but King wanted to have peace and harmony amongst the people. And again, as we'll get to, I mean, something we can say now, like, this isn't even how those characters play out in something we said on our last episode, the original. Especially in the movies, most of the time is spent, and a lot even in the cartoons, are mutants fighting mutants, like most of the time it's mutant fighting mutants. In the comics, once you get into the more advanced levels, it's a little better, but it's often just mutant fighting mutants, right? It's not like this there's no struggle really against humans. It's
trying to gain acceptance from humans.
It's the X-Men trying to protect the humans from the evil, quote unquote, evil mutants. Like, so what is that? How does that even correlate to like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? Like, Martin Luther King was killed by humans, so to speak. Like, it's just like it doesn't hold up. When we get to the actual like Zionism part, then all of a sudden when I learned that, I was like, oh, all of this makes perfect sense now. Now the whole conflict is put in full context or whatever. But anyway, I forgot to tag these separately, so we're gonna have to just do I'm gonna have to just share this out of my outline.
There's a wine mom out there who legitimately thinks MLK confronted Malcolm X in some foggy room and said, "Enough is enough. My people will stop you." Like, that is a legit thought process out there. I'm just.
I think I saw the AI
fight your bad black people.
So you saw the AI of that?
I think I saw the AI. No, I'm just saying. I'm just joking. But it sounds like something we'll see soon.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh God.
Oh, definitely.
So this was the first comic book of the X-Men published in September 1963, and that date is important. A lot of the characters that we come to know in X-Men didn't even exist in the original X-Men. So you had the 5 members: Cyclops, right here, Marvel Girl, who that name eventually changes, Iceman, Angel, and Beast, and then this is Magneto here. And if you open the comics, they're like, the original story is them training downstairs, which, you know, Martin Luther King clearly trained a lot of people to fight and everything like that. So that correlates with you know, with Professor X and everything. But 1963 is important because that's the year, like we noted on the original, there's a lot of things that happened in 1963, but that's the year of the March on Washington, which is then the year of the I Have a Dream speech. That's the year of the Birmingham riots. That's the year that Medgar Evers was killed, assassinated. That's the year that the 4 little girls were killed in the church. This is also the year that Kennedy, the president, is assassinated. So a lot of things were happening. 63 is a wild year when you just go back and look at it historically. That's the same year as the Message to the Grassroots speech that Malcolm gave, my favorite one of his. But 1963 makes it weird to believe that 2 Jewish white guys in their 20s in an era where you can't get information immediate like you can now would be able to arrive at such an analysis in real time when Dr. King hasn't even fully ascended and Malcolm X has just come into the public sphere the last few years, that they would be able to create 2 characters based on that information in 1963 in September, which is a month after King had just made I Have a Dream, which is what, you know, throws him into, he was popular prior to that, but that makes him, you know, persona non grata. It makes him like number 1, you know, over everyone in terms of the media eyes. So how were they going to arrive at that position, you know, writing this comic as, you know, 2 Jewish white guys? Good luck making that make sense. But in the original comics, there is no like version of Magneto being tragic, like we said. So this is what Professor X actually says. Not all of them want to help humankind. He's talking about mutants. Some hate the human race and wish to destroy it. It's some that feel the mutants should be the real rulers of the earth. It is our job to protect mankind from those evil mutants. So that is the stated mission of Professor X, who is being compared to Martin Luther King. And for those who don't know, Professor X is the one who trains the X-Men, you know, and is like the founder of the X-Men, and then, you know, leads the group that fights Magneto, and Magneto founds a group called, originally in the original comics, called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They eventually take evil out of the name. So there's no like story of the Holocaust in this original version. Like, doesn't exist. Magneto is just a typical flat, you know, kind of boring villain who just wants to kill humankind. And there's no like civil rights conflict to really be drawn, even allegorically speaking, you know. So again, Stan Lee is capping because that's not what he put in his story, and didn't even really write all those issues. So X-Men actually wasn't even a very popular comic when it came out. As we'll get to, Chris Claremont is who, you know, amplifies it. So this is Magneto. The human race no longer deserves dominion over the planet Earth. The day of the mutants is upon us. The first phase of my plan shall be to show my power to make Homo sapiens bow to the Homo superior. Like, again, I guess that's Malcolm X.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
He's basically just clipping Message to the Grassroots right there.
Yeah, you know, that's all that was. You know, he was starting on Ballad of the Bullet right there. You know, that was like some early notes. So as it says here, like it ran for 66 issues. It tanked in 1970. It didn't even have a successful run. So it wasn't even like, so it's also, when you think about that, that means it wasn't even a popular comic. So this isn't something that people are even like pulling a lot of inspiration from, because it kind of sucked. You know, so it's like, so there's no way that, again, this is the debunk that Stan Lee did this. There's no way he made a comic that has none of the storylines that we come to know, where they were former friends. Like, if you know the comics, like, or the story, like Magneto and Professor X used to be friends, and they fall out over this disagreement about how to handle the problem, and then they go their separate ways, and then they fight, but sometimes they work together. That's not in this version. These whole 66 issues, that storyline doesn't exist. So there's no version on that. Like, so it's like people are just capping. But we don't get any kind of rewrite until like 1975. And they start presenting the new characters, like Wolverine and stuff like that. The people or Storm and all these characters that we come to know. If you're fans of this was not originally in the first run. And even the way that some of the characters that were in the original run get redrawn, they're not just wearing like cheap yellow suits anymore. Like, they have more specific attire on, and that's how you get Nightcrawler, comes out of Germany, you get Wolverine, you get Storm from Kenya but was born in Harlem or something, you get Native American Thunderbird, Japan's superhero Sunfire. All of a sudden now Colossus from Russia, Banshee, all of a sudden, who comes out of, I think, Ireland. All of a sudden you start getting this quote unquote diversity that didn't even exist. They were all white characters, which is another problem. We're comparing these folks to two white guys, so that's another issue. So like, it doesn't come out of that ethos. And then it's Chris Claremont who comes on later, who gives the story, like, rewrites it after it's kind of fallen apart, and rewrites it and turns it into a more, I guess, interesting storyline, where you get these backstories of Magneto being he was a Holocaust survivor. That's what in comics they call this retcon. Where they change the story, and and now he's driven by some kind of like trauma or something that happened when he was younger, that's driving why he doesn't trust human beings and all of that. And I think I have that on here too. So you don't get that until the 150th episode or comic of the X-Men. That's the story, X-Men versus Magneto. This is the comic, I believe, where Magneto finally is like more, you see here is Chris Claremont, writer, offered the people of the world choice. You have 7 days to cede me total political control, or I will end the life on Earth as you know it. And this is where you get the more like tragic Magneto that we come to, some of us, I guess, sympathize with. But prior to that, wasn't a thing. So then Magneto hurts one of, I think this was what was this, Kitty Pryde, I believe. He hurts Kitty Pryde, and this is the comic where he starts to admit, this is where it comes out about his his like background. And he's like, oh, I can't believe I did this. I'm turning into the people that I hate. And that's another white liberal staple in all of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we can just kind of stop there. Is this just to kind of have that conversation of like how
cycle of violence.
Yeah, it's
Right.
and also just how every time it's you're gonna become the thing you hate. This is in Black Panther too, right? Like anytime someone is like ready to take it there, you're gonna become just like the people you hate. It's in, I mean, all the cartoons we grew up on, it is consistently a theme throughout all of that, is if you're gonna become bitter and vengeful and you're gonna be corrupted and you don't want to become just like the thing. And it's always so, even when those liberal shows have good critiques of society, they never have a solution, because it's always like, well, if you actually take it there, you're just becoming just like the fascists, you're becoming just like the racists, you're becoming just like the thing, right? Like, it's always plays out this way. It's a consistent staple in like liberal writing. It's why, as much as you could enjoy the shows, they always do that, almost always. There's only a few shows here and there or movies where that doesn't happen.
That's why I loved the to this day the ending of the movie Seven, and why when I saw it in the theater for the first time, I had an inappropriate kind of like applause for the ending because I was like, because I was expecting just that. Brad Pitt's character is supposed to not kill the dude. He's supposed to listen to Morgan Freeman, and who's telling him, "You'll become what he wants you to become. Don't do it." And then he's like, "Nah, blah, 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 blah. He put my wife's head in the box. You got to go." And I was like, "What is the issue here? Like, what is the issue?" And I was like, "Yeah." And the people in the theater were like, "What?"
Yeah. I mean, you know, that was
also
that
the
was
bad guy
David.
was
That's David
Spacey.
Fincher, man. David Fincher films.
Right,
That's
right,
one of
right.
my favorites. But yeah.
But also,
I mean,
Yeah, I'll never forgive Ta-Nehisi Coates for allowing that to happen to Black Panther. Because the Black Panther you see in the film, the Black Panther you see in Captain America: Civil War does not exist ever again in the Black Panther you see in the full film. Like they're completely different characters. Just to get in my little bit of a nerd rant. This is also why I did enjoy the second Spider-Verse movie. It seemed to kind of subvert that notion of I'm going to just do my own thing. It kind of allowed Miles like being able to question the status quo within, like, of course the entire scenario is not touching. Sure, you can make allegories, but it seemed to kind of deviate from that just a little bit.
yeah, and it's like, but no, I think that's a good point in terms of you know, a lot of those movies, a lot of comic book movies are based on, or comic book stories, not just the films, are based on some kind of revenge or some kind of trauma. Like particularly in Marvel, you know, there's something that happened, or even in DC, something happened to these characters, and now they're driven for justice. But there's always this line that they're toting. Like even Batman is like the epitome of that, where you know he doesn't want to kill people, even though it's a billionaire in a in a bat suit flying around buildings with like military equipment. Like, you know, but he never kills, right? Like that's the line that he can't cross because he doesn't want to become like the thugs on the street that he's constantly, you know, tracking down. Like that storyline is a hallmark of American, you know, storytelling, right? Like it very rarely, to your point, Dr. Ball, does it deviate. And it's certainly not going to deviate from that if it's a black character. So it's no coincidence that Morgan Freeman is a black guy. Like, don't do it.
Exactly. And even more so, to your point, it would never be letting a black character lose it to kill a white one. You know, that I would be shocked if anybody has examples of that. I would actually like to see that. I'd be shocked if that's even ever happened.
If it
not,
does,
not wonder if it's ever happened.
If it does, I think there's films where folks have maybe kill white folks, but it's not really cast in a good light, right? Like the film is telling you this is not what you should do,
right?
If it does happen, it's never like this is actually the what you should do, you know, like versus white characters.
Black Panther: Civil War. Black Panther wants to kill Bucky for killing his dad.
Yeah,
like that was I was excited. I'm like, fine, like this is Black Panther. Like they got too into his whole, like the way the movie played him as this pseudo religious character. If you read the Black Panther comics, he doesn't give a, excuse my language, he doesn't give a fuck. Like he has a goal. He's gonna get it done. If the Illuminati, the group is part of, says, "Hey, we need you to listen to us. We're gonna arrest mutants or something," Black Panther will dead asses look at them and say, "I'm not doing that." So to finally see that in films, I was hyped for the Solo film, but they kind of just raised that version of the character. I was willing to beat up an armed white man.
Yeah, like that movie was interesting because like up until Civil War has a lot of problems, but like up until like you said, that was a totally different Black Panther. Like if you watch like it's totally different mentality. He's on a mission, and then in the end, when he sees the guy that actually starts all this, not just Bucky, but I can't remember the name, the villain's name, that put all that in motion. When he sees him, he doesn't kill him. He's just like, no more. You remember that? Like at the end when they're in like the snow or something. What's that character's name?
vengeance has consumed them.
Xeno something.
Yeah, vengeance will consume me no longer, or something like that.
Yeah.
So you just never get, like, they never do the thing, because it's like there's that line where we don't want to promote violence, even though these movies are literally like, the scripts are literally read by the State Department, and we literally borrow equipment from the military to even make these films. But we don't want to promote violence, even
violence.
Yeah,
they never do the thing. That's the tagline right there. The headline.
That's a great point. When you from a Black perspective, there are no films that show Black revenge in a good light, but there are plenty of films of a white guy taking revenge and people are okay with it. Taken, for example, off the top of my head. That's a whole film. There's a whole film about revenge, and
there was a whole genre. That was the whole Death Wish. What's his name? The other white dude who was talking to the chair. What's his name? Whose son is now a nepo baby in Hollywood? The one. Clint Eastwood.
Oh yeah.
It's like that whole genre. They get the falling down, Michael Douglas, and all of that. It's like everybody, white men fall apart and get to shoot up a whole bunch, usually Black and brown people. And then they get to, and then it's acceptable. It's even demanded.
Right. But
Rambo's a perfect example of that as well.
And
Rambo.
Rambo. Oh yeah.
Talk about shooting up Black and brown folks.
Yeah. Millennials covered that.
Yeah.
The Vietnam, they lost the war of Vietnam till they send one white man back. Years later, they send him back.
All you need.
So one man army.
All you need.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, they. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, and even when it is, even the closest, one of the films people would say probably disputes our point, like, and I'm gonna argue right back, is Django, right?
Oh,
again, I don't agree.
A white guy kills Candy, though. A white guy gets to kill the plantation owner.
Thank you.
Yep.
That is the thank you to Two Blacks' point.
They killed another slave.
They don't do the thing. They don't ever do the thing. So they give him the kill. The kill goes. That was, of all the tells in that movie, that was the one.
Yeah,
and then it was just a remake again. Like Tarantino has just been sort of, in some ways, to a point here. Tarantino's entire career has been, I like what that Asian dude did. I like what that old Western dude did. I'm just going to put a bunch of N-words in it, and then we're going to put it out to the people, and it's, he's a legend.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a white dude in a damn video store.
Yeah, he really does just kind of remix the shit and throw it out, and has some good cinematography to draw you in.
As somebody pointed out, all he did with Inglourious Bastards is put a U in the word Inglorious. Like, he just spelled it the European. Like, he's just, all of these movies have been made before. He's just snatching all of this stuff. Anyway, this dude is a.
Yeah, I mean, even was it Pam Grier? What was that film? Jackie Brown, right? That was,
he didn't write that. So
right,
even
I'm saying that was just a redux of
black
exploitation, anyway, right? It was just, and he's like, well, my mom grew up watching those things, so
right.
Like, it was me to pay homage. And there's always this, like, and even with this Malcolm X MLK thing, there's this kind of thirsty energy sometimes of like, oh, the white people, they were inspired by us, y'all. Like, like, we matter. Like, this. It's very like thirsty. Like, yeah, man, they based it off of us. Like, it's really based on black characters, man. They just don't want to tell you, man. Like, everybody loves us secretly, man. Like, it's just that kind of thirsty energy that I
black characters, black deities, all that shit.
Say what?
Oh yeah, black characters, black deities.
Yeah, they really worship us low key, man. Like, like, yeah, man. Like, So yeah, it's always this like thirstiness for acceptance in a way that I don't. And then, but it's like a thirstiness for acceptance, but then it's like rage that they don't like accept us because they don't really want to embrace this as marketable, right? Like it's so it leads you into very delusional thinking where you accept these things when on their face, even if we didn't tell y'all about how the comics emerged, this doesn't even make sense as an allegory. So like let alone if we got into like we're about to get into the Zionist connections and all of that, right? Like it just doesn't even make sense on its face. But let me share my screen again, and then we'll get to the last one. I said it. This is where you actually in the comics see it, and the Magneto literally says, "I remember my childhood, the gas chambers at Auschwitz, the guards joking as they herded my family to their death as our lives were nothing to them. So human lives became nothing to me." Right. So again, it's this, I was traumatized, so I didn't care about human beings. And somehow this is supposed to be Malcolm X. Like, my father was killed by the Klan, so now I hate white people. And it's just a personal grievance. It's not that white people have done horrible things or anything like that, or it's not that I just want better for my people. It's I hate white folks because of my very personal grievance, and now I'm going to take it out on the entire world. This is also just a kind of it demonstrates the kind of white psychological explanation for things, right? Like it's all in people's heads. It's not a material. There aren't material reasons for things. It's just I'm traumatized in my brain and I can't think right.
That's a good point.
But in this moment, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. Sorry, I'm sorry. It was just it by extension reduces everything that Malcolm would be associated to some personal issue and not the actual legit concerns of the community. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's not really
or validates the idea that he's a supremacist in any shape or form, or even thinks like a white supremacist in any shape or form.
Yeah, it's not about the overall struggle. It's about my pain, and I'm driven by that. And then I see Josh keeps referencing this point about Kitty Pryde. We'll get to that. But it gets at that like sentiment. It's never really about like the broader struggle. It's so what's funny though is eventually in like kind of just pop culture with Magneto, there's this, particularly online, there's like this memeing of him like Magneto had a point. Like people start saying that, and that becomes another way he gets associated with Malcolm X. Like Magneto had a point. Like, yeah, maybe he went too far, but he had a point. And then that becomes how we understand Malcolm in many ways. Like Malcolm was going too far. I don't think we should separate. I don't think we need our own nation. I don't think, but Malcolm had a point, so we should buy black or something, like it becomes reductionist in that sense. Like, he had something, so I mean, really, I'm about black power, kinda, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like black business or something. So when you do that to people, you reduce their ideas down to, some kind of, I like this little nugget of what Malcolm said, so I'm gonna like zero in on that and all the internationalism and all that. Nah, just that we should support each other. We should buy black. We should have businesses. Like, not that we should control all the institutions in the community. No, just like we should have businesses, and we can compete with them. So you get this kind of petty bourgeois black nationalism that emerges amongst the kind of black elite class where they want their own cut. And I think a lot of, I'm not trying to take shots at Godfrey, but I think a lot of where that kind of sentiment comes from that he expressed is like, we don't feel like we get our own cut in this industry, and we deserve better or something.
Absolutely. I will say I've watched enough of Godfrey's content that I would co-sign your frame of that a lot of it isn't. I'm not taking shots or even accusing or where his politics are, although I they're whatever. But I think a lot of what he is saying is sort of drenched in that I still need a job, I need gigs, I need entry into this industry. I have Stanley white friends. I want, it's that kind of approach to it. Yeah, yeah. And we can't, you put me in your movie, I will sell for you type energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so it's just it's like this, it's this sense of white people don't, and more specifically, white capitalist execs don't see us as the commodities that we really are. And that's the problem. Like, they don't
modify me, bro.
Yeah. Like, they don't.
Well, they've always seen us as commodities, and like history will tell that for sure. They just, when I see the excuse of like, oh yeah, black people don't sell, I see that as a very that's a quick getaway reply, so you don't have to actually pay a black person or group of black people their actual value.
Yeah,
they know we're valuable. Like since the beginning of this country, they just don't want to pay you a proper share by saying like, hey, that's a great idea, but I know you're going to take a fat cut of whatever that idea is, so I got to tell you, it's not profitable. Oh yeah, if we show Star Wars in China, we're gonna have to make Finn smaller. You don't want that. Which, by the way, to those who believe that myth, that was a Hong Kong poster. Yes, a former British colony is sus. Who knew? Mainland China loves black people. Let's get that correct.
Yeah, that one did go. People love to always point that out. Like, man, the whole world hates us. I'm not going down the anti-blackness rant today, but that whole kind of, yeah. But all right, so next up, we've shown that this is where Magneto comes out and changes. So there was the this one was interesting too. The God loves, man kills. This is actually a good. I remember reading this when we did the episode again. This is actually a good graphic novel, but this was the one to our point. We talk about how they always walk to the line, but they never like do the thing. So in this case, this was actually a critique of like, I think, right-wing even evangelists and stuff. So there was like these crazy right-wing evangelists that were trying to get rid of mutants in totality. Like, they preached hate against them, very like xenophobic approach. And someone gets, I can't remember everything in the novel, but someone, if y'all can remember, correct me, but somebody gets hurt, and Professor X almost gives up on his belief in humans. And he says, as you reminded me, Magnus, I taught them, I gave them their reason for being. I cannot desert them if they are willing to if they are willing to give my dream a chance, then so why? And Magneto says he's a fool, because he almost in this comic for a moment says maybe my idea of living with humans in harmony is a bad idea. And he actually is about to give up. And then I think it was Cyclops who comes in and says, no, you taught us to believe in humans, and we have to continue to believe in them. And then that's when this one on the right, where he's saying to Magneto, like, I have to give my dream a chance. And it's playing on the Martin Luther King. See, because they realized people were making these connections, even though they're not real. So they start playing on them a little bit in the comics, and it's playing on like, I got to give my dream a chance. That's all Martin Luther King is reduced to, is I have a dream speech. And then you have Magneto saying, well, then you're a fool if you're not gonna, fight. This is also the comic where Kitty Pryde, I believe, used the calls somebody a nigger to make a point about Jewish oppression. This is
wow.
I vaguely remember.
To make a cause for a made-up group of people. She uses a real life slur. Who wrote that?
And this is when we talk about Chris Claremont, who we're about to get to more in depth. Chris Claremont, who, again, to his credit, did have some compelling writing in terms of just drama and stories. He writes this. He put that in there. So there's that. So eventually, stop sharing and pull up a different article. Eventually we learned that, the Claremont is the one again who adds this whole thing about the the Jewish Holocaust survivor and them being friends and all of that. And then that leads to, he's actually asked in an interview not too long ago, like 2016, what inspired these characters. And he's very explicit about where, where he drew his inspiration from. Give me a second. There we go.
Hey, folks, while we got a quick second, like, share, subscribe, support the platform.
Yeah,
Monetization is back. Google let us out our overlords. At least let us out of one cage. Oh, I do got to shout you out for this real quick. The way, and I know you came back to correct it in that episode, but I love the way you were butchering this dude's name throughout the whole thing. And salute to everybody who does that consciously or not. I love when that happens. When my man Todd, who was in the chat earlier to the presentation years ago, and kept calling, I can't even remember how the man's name. He kept calling Gunner Myrtle Gunner Midroll and Midroll and Moderol. It was like 2 hours of just multiple, but it's beautiful. But anyway, so salute to you for that. Anyway,
thank you. I remember in the comments, people were like, "You don't have to fix." They like, "Fuck him." I actually was like, "I have a point."
I mean, we know, but we appreciate the integrity to get the I mean, you continue to trash him. It's like, but I'm gonna say his name right as I trash him. But it was still, it was funny.
I don't even know if I remember how to say it, so I might fuck it up again.
Nobody correct him. Let it happen. Let it flow.
Menyakum Biggin or something. I think that's it. Who cares? So this is Claremont again. Claremont is who wrote the version of X-Men that we now come to know that's been built on in the movies and the cartoons. Stan Lee had nothing to do with this, as we've already debunked. And so he was asked explicitly, similar to Stan Lee, were you thinking of only anti-Semitism, racism, and homophobia as well? He said it was blended. He said there's a lot of talk online now that Magneto stands in for Malcolm X and Xavier stands in for Martin Luther King, which is totally valid for me being a white immigrant. Claiborne was born in England. To make that analogy felt incredibly presumptuous. An equivalent analogy could be made the Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin in Magneto evolving through his life from a terrorist in 1947 to a winner of the Nobel Peace Prize years later. The evolution was something I wanted to apply to the relationship between Xavier and Magneto. It's an evolving 150-issue arc, Magneto's resurrection as an angry anti-human pro-mutant terrorist. In 150, he lashed out, and the person that gets hit is Kitty Pryde, 13-year-old kid. His shattering realization is, what kind of monster have I become? Has what the Nazis did to me, and show what made me a Nazi. Here it is again, over and over and over. Ultimately, my goal for the character was that he would come full circle and become Xavier's heir, headmaster of school, and leader of the team. For me, he was much more fascinating character because of his flaws, and there was always a risk that he might fall from grace. Instead, they felt Magneto was far too valuable a character as a straight villain, and that's pretty much it on that. So he's very clear that he based Magneto off of someone that even in Israeli history is recognized originally as a terrorist. So not even within like common sense history, but even within Israeli history, he was considered too far for people who were trying to steal land at the time. Right.
Even for them.
So like not even take us out of it. Take the black radical tradition. No, just throw that to the side for a second. They felt that he was a terrorist at the time because there is a conflict between liberal Zionists and the more far right Zionists, and right now the far right Zionists are very much winning that battle. Not to say liberal Zionists are good people or anything, but they believed a little bit more maybe moderation and a slower genocide. And the right wing believes in a more accelerationist genocide. I think maybe
slower genocide is crazy.
Yeah. So Meacham, Menyakum, whatever his name is, he who founds the Likud party that now Netanyahu is the head of. he was engaged in the Deir Yassin massacre that killed at least 107 Palestinian Arab villagers, including women and children. That happened on April 9th, 1948. This is who he was seeing him as an evolution of, because eventually that guy becomes the prime minister, I think the sixth prime minister of Israel, because becoming a prime minister of Israel is a redemption arc, apparently. So, because he went from a terrorist to a prime minister, even though he's over a country that's a terrorist country, basically. But
but that's the line, right? If you kill
Yeah.
two people, you're a murderer. If you kill a few million, you're a hero, or something like that. It's like that thing.
Yeah.
The Nobel Peace Prize will never escape the allegations.
Never.
Especially with the recent news going on in Venezuela.
Oh my God. Yeah.
and the fact that their own people don't. Who won Maria something? Marina something.
Machado.
Maria Machado, yeah.
Yeah.
That the fact that it's been told her own people don't like her, it's crazy. But the allegory to internal Zionist conflict, I think, makes a lot more sense. And I think, to me, kind of made a lot more sense in terms of the writing of the comic, but it made a lot more sense to me of how to interpret or how internal Zionist conflict is seen. When we talk about liberal Zionism, the first thing that comes to mind is how often a liberal Zionist will place the blame of Israel on Bibi himself. Like, it's Bibi's fault. We have to vote out Bibi, and then everything will be fine. Stop talking about the two-state solution. The problem is Bibi versus just the entire concept of being a settler colonial state within like the 21st century.
Yeah.
It brought a lot of things to light.
Yeah, and I think we forgot to also say, that Claremont also says that he always saw Professor X and Magneto as echoes of David Ben-Gurion and Menachem Begin. So David Ben-Gurion is the first prime minister of Israel. So that just to give you a sense of.
Now, Josh did point out in the chat, and I just looked it up. I've never even heard of this thing, that Godfrey had been in 2019 to Israel to perform at the I just lost it, the something Kobe event, and not Comedy for Kobe, which was the name KOBY, by the way, just in case anybody's confused, which was the name of, it says Rabbi Seth and Cherie Mandel established the Kobe Mandel Foundation in 2001 after the 13-year-old son Kobe Mandel and his friend Yoshef Ishran were brutally murdered by terrorists near their home in Israel. So, and you can see today that they're like, even the more recent one, they have like these conservative white comics that go over there and perform for that. And Godfrey apparently had been invited to that. And so his, again, tacit, indirect, his being used indirectly to support whatever, however people would want to frame it, to support this apparatus you're outlining here, may make sense. I don't know. Now, I don't know, maybe he's since corrected himself. I don't know, Josh, maybe you could tell us if he's apologized for that. But he's going over there for that. He's hanging out with Stan Lee. I don't know if Godfrey's in the best position or whatever to explain to us these nuances. I don't know.
I doubt it. I mean,
this is bars, right? He's comedy's Lord Jamar. That's wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yikes.
I mean, just a little background on Ben-Gurion in case people think he's somehow better. He's the one. There were a bunch of militias that existed that were trying to conquer Palestine, and he's the one that helps unite them into the Israeli Defense Force, also known as the IDF. Like, this is, he was one of the leaders.
Just like the X-Men. The X-Men.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The analogy makes way more sense now, because it's all the Zionist propaganda, right? It's, we are mutants, we're a pariah to the world, everybody hates us. And we need, because even Professor X, I think I said in the last episode, he still was like, we need our own school. So Professor X, I think, he's not really a full integrationist in the sense. Like he's still like very much Jewish. Jewish institutions are interesting because like there's like a assimilation sense, but then there's also this like we need to have our own thing sense, you know, which I'm not that part. If it didn't involve genocide, I don't think it's really a problem, you know. But since
just that little,
yeah, you know, just that part right there. But you know, but it goes to this extreme where it's like we need our own thing. So yeah, like he's the one that unites the forces. He's the one that believes that they need to have, you know, but in a way, like just in the comics, often X-Men are used, and definitely in the movies are used by the state to, you know, particularly the United States, to defend all kinds of nonsense. I mean, in X-Men First Class, they were literally trained by the CIA. Like if you go watch the movie, like they're literally trained by the CIA in that sense. So they wanted to have like tight relationships with the Empire because they felt like that would protect them. That's the kind of bargain that Professor X was making. Like we're okay people, and we will protect you from the monsters. So Magneto in some ways represents like on one end, right? Magneto represents the you know, the right-wing Zionists, but then on another end, in certain parts of the stories, it's almost like he represents the Palestinians, like the people who follow him, because they're the dirty people that we have to protect the world from, right? Like it's like in a way, and not to say that Magneto is sympathetic in that sense, but I'm saying like they depict Magneto as like crazy and extreme, and they depict him literally as a terrorist. You know,
it could also be the fascist. It could also be the fascistic framework of your enemy is both strong and weak. Magneto sees himself as both strong, but weak against, you know, the culture war that is set upon him.
Say that again.
Just in terms of like instead of Magneto being a callback to Palestinians, it's more of a callback to fascistic ideology that your enemy is both weak and strong. Magneto sees himself as both strong and weak.
Yeah. I guess I'm saying from the perspective of, I don't think Magneto, obviously they wrote him as a Jewish figure, but I'm saying in a sense that from the perspective of the mutant, or like from the Professor X perspective, and even the United States, this is somebody that, you know, it needs to be contained by the good mutants. And that's what I mean. That's how they talk about the Palestinians, is they need to be contained. I don't think any of this is intentional. I'm saying this is just kind of how the narratives play out, probably almost on accident. It's like, I don't think this is written like that, but like they need to be contained or whatever. Because, you know, but like you were saying earlier, even with Bibi, there is that sense amongst liberal Zionists that Bibi Netanyahu needs to be contained. Like he becomes Magneto too. That's the thing about allegories. You can kind of switch out. That's why I don't really always care for it, because it's just too loosey goosey. You can kind of switch out who you want to represent who. So like Bibi becomes he's the real problem, and there are good mutants. He's the bad mutant. He's the evil mutant. There are good Zionists. He's the evil Zionist. You know, like it plays off of that, when, like you said, the entire settler project is the problem, right? Like there is no like good binary inside that, you know, that just doesn't need to be a thing, right? So it's like that's how they play it off though. So Magneto becomes a foil in a way where, like, okay, he has a point, and then he appeals to like these kind of fascist sensibilities. And that's what I think a lot of people say he has a point. It's not that he's like this revolutionary in the sense that we might see him, but it's like, well, maybe we should just get rid of everybody, you know. like maybe we should just take them all out. Like maybe that's what we should do, you know.
I think somebody noted in the chat earlier the same was said about Thanos. It was like the Thanos had a point too type thing. If I read that correctly, I might have that wrong, but I feel like that they were trying to say that about Thanos, what you're saying here about people's interpretation of Magneto, that he might be right, just blipping everybody out of here.
Yeah, instead of creating more resources, let's just get rid of half the universe. That's a great
redistribute.
idea.
Redistribute, bro. Just redistribute.
Don't get me started on Thanos. The MCU Thanos. MCU Thanos had a great allegory in terms of him being quite literally in love with death. He was a psychopath, but MCU Thanos just wanted to eliminate 50% of the world just because there's overpopulation. My brother in Christ, you have the Infinity Gauntlet. Make it 50% larger.
Like you can do whatever you want with the Infinity Gauntlet, and you're like, I'm gonna just take out
I'm gonna
half the
kill
people.
off half the universe.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
Not just people, all of creation, so to speak, all of the everything, animals, pesticides, everything. like you know. And then no point in the movie does anyone ever raise that, man, you don't really got to do it like that.
This is taken as a given.
Yeah, even like the Avengers they're just like, we got to defeat him, but the one is like, bro, like, and even when they get the glove in Endgame, they don't do anything other than just bring shit back to what it is. They don't be like, well, I have this power, I can basically make it like we don't need superheroes anymore, because you could just imagine a world where we don't need to have world wars and universal intergalactic
the Democratic
wars.
Party.
Yeah.
They get the power, and they just like, we just go wait till some Republican can be blamed for us not doing something.
I mean, real talk.
What can you expect from a billionaire who gets the Infinity Gauntlet? You know what I'm gonna do? Keep everything exactly the same, baby.
Word. Because I'm still a billionaire in this universe. I like that.
The billions coming in, baby.
Nothing will fundamentally change. Yeah, nothing will fundamentally change. Dang. So it's just like
trust.
It's silly, man. But yeah, so also, I think at First Class, didn't they like kill the only black character anyway? It's just randomly.
I will never forgive that.
Yeah.
I will never forgive that. Like, God bless James Gunn for always having the quirk of giving black people super dope scenes. Because that was the same actor in First Class who played Darwin. Darwin, thank you, somebody in the chat. Darwin has survived the World War Hulk, and his power just teleported him to the moon. He survived drowning. How, like, I think I read an article that the actor himself said, that you read the script saying, like, you're not actually going to kill me, right? He's like, no, we're going to bring you back to another X movie. Never happened. Never happened. Shout out to James Gunn. He's Mr. Terrific now.
And he was in, he was terrific in in Superman. Yeah. Josh Jackson's play scene.
I can't get
the link. My heart, please.
I can't get the link to work, like, because it's in the comments. Can somebody go to YouTube and click on it? Let me.
I'll get it. Hold on. Josh, yeah, we gotta respond to Josh's energy right here. We can't leave him out there like that. Here we go. Hold on, I get it. I think. Where is
Someone said Claremont briefly lived in Israel in the kibbutz. Wow. That makes sense.
All right, this is
funny. Racist scene is crazy.
My name is Sebastian Shaw, and I am not here to hurt you. Azazel. My friends, there's a revolution coming. When mankind discovers who we are, what we can do, each of us will face a choice. The enslaved or rise.
Wow.
Why they put him on camera like that? Like, I never like why they cut to him like that, bro? Like, that's before they killed him. Like, why they just cut to him like that?
All we can confidently say is there's zero chance it was an accident.
Zero
chance.
Zero chance. There's no way. Like, I always noticed that everybody remembers him getting killed, but I never caught that the camera was like slavery.
They used his death to hide, to make you forget. We racismed him first.
Yeah, and then we were telling you there was, they say in film that was like foreshadowing, like clearly, like,
Damn.
He
even seems to have a little look, like, real quick, like, why are you looking at me?
Like, what? Why
you look over here when you say
what do you mean slavery?
Damn.
I thought Sebastian Shaw. I thought Irish were slaves too. Like, nah.
You know, we always
No.
get the worst Irish in America here. So it's,
Oh, damn.
We don't get the free Palestinian type.
Yeah, we don't get those over here. So
now we got the neoliberal Irish.
Yeah. Like,
that's hilarious.
We don't get
if I had to say a slight tangent in terms of what you're saying, X-Men First Class and the Marvel movies' propensity for making sure marginalized figures always work for the CIA, the FBI, the military in order to validate their existence. Everybody, that's why I'll always be DC over Marvel. I'm sorry. The scene in the Batman when Robert Pattinson quite literally beats up a room full of police officers and a black man is telling him to run away. I'm just like, Marvel can never. I just got to throw it out there. Marvel can never.
Relatively speaking, even though that was a terrible movie, you talking about Batman versus Superman?
No. The Batman with Robert Pattinson.
The Batman. You said Robert. Yeah. I thought you were talking about when he fights him in Batman versus Superman in that basement where he beats up a bunch of people and puts them on the wall and shit. I thought you were talking about that. You talking about Batman versus Superman?
Yeah, no.
Dre is funny. This is fun. We get Conor McGregor. That's funny.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Like straight up, man. Like it's kind of like Cuba or something, you know. Like we don't get like they like Cuba and Miami.
No, we
like,
get Gloria Stefan and shit. Yeah, we get fucking Pitbull. Fuck out of here.
we don't get our Palestinians DJ Khaled.
Oh
word,
my God.
exactly. Perfect.
Yes, perfect. Mic drop on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
We get all the reactionaries. They just get sent over here, man. Like we don't, you know.
Put them on TV. Put them on TV in America.
Yeah, I mean, even from Africa, man. Like, you know, a lot of like some of the most reactionary ones get sent over here, man. So it's just like, yeah, that's an interesting.
They'll take anybody.
That's an interesting
But listen, I just want to say real quick, before I forget again, this is a statement to my homeboy, Godfrey's homeboy, Dante Nero. If you see this, don't put me in the group with these three who have not sat with Stan Lee. Holler, and we could talk and build about Marvel and the few errors you all have made about buying power over there. So, like, you know,
don't put me in the group with these three.
Nero. I mean, because he at one point he saw something that happened over here, and he hit me up. And then there was a whole text exchange around the Lord Jamar stuff. And then as soon as I said, but you also all did make a mistake. You know, you were right to go at Jamar, but you also made a mistake about the buying power. They stopped. The text stopped. So I'm just saying, Dante, it's all good, man. Holla at me. I'm not with I'm just, you know, I'm just hanging out.
He's just here.
They haven't sat with Stan Lee, but I know
we're the evil mutants, you know.
If we're throwing flowers to Godfrey, hot take, I do legitimately believe that if you did play Blade in the new MCU, it actually probably could revive the character. I think you're a bit older than I would want a new Blade, but I think legitimately in today's climate, you probably could do it.
Godfrey as Blade.
I don't know about that.
He has to build. He could do it.
But can he do all the other things like act?
Martial arts.
You haven't seen Soul Plane?
Yeah, it was a wonderful award-winning film. Yeah.
BET staple almost every day. Every day you used to turn on BETs. There was Soul Plane.
Yeah, I don't. I think at this point, I'm actually cool with them. Just leave Blade alone. You know, like I don't think. I thought what's his name, Mahershala Ali or whatever. I thought he would have been pretty good, but they couldn't get that off the ground. So you know, just leave it alone.
Look, honestly, if they can keep,
I'll never forgive that.
If they can keep de-aging De Niro in them, why can't they de-age Wesley and do another Blade? Put him in. They can't.
Do we really want to see?
No. Yeah, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But they just keep de-aging all these white men for these movies. I'm like, why can't let Wesley get a check?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Wesley was in Deadpool as so he got to come back,
right?
As Blade. You know, I think those Blade movies are remembered a little bit better than what they really were, but that's a conversation for another day.
That's a good conversation for another day.
Blade was whack, or the myth. Blade was great.
Yeah.
Did you guys already talk about Aaron Pierre as dark skinned character John Stewart, or should I just table this one for another episode?
Wait, what?
Aaron Pierre is going to play John Stewart, the Green Lantern.
He's going to play Green Lantern.
Oh.
I believe it when I see it.
Yeah, keep these light skins in check, man. They doing too much.
When I die, all I ask is two things. Don't Photoshop me in the clouds. And when there's a movie, don't let a light skin play me. I just ask for two things.
It's a good bare minimum.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's not consistent with even the comics. It's always wild how even like basic liberal comics don't even make these mistakes, but then they make a movie and it somehow gets worse. but whatever. A few more points that we could just clown out and get off of here. I had some clips of other folks talking. I don't really think I need to play all those again. If you want to see everything we have, you can watch the original episode because it was interesting. We're talking about X-Men First Class. Well, so for those who are not familiar, there were 2 tracks of X-Men movies. There was the original ones, which 2 out of 3 of those were pretty decent. The third one was awful. And then there was the like prequels where they showed them younger, like the origin stories, and about 2 out of 4 of those was cool. And then the last 2 were not good. Like First Class and Days of Future Past, which might have been the best of the whole group. So they took the Magnetos of both of those movies and they sit down and they actually, let me see if I can play that because I feel like that one was a little bit insulting in a way that deserves our scrutiny. There's also like, I'm just looking at some of these notes. There's also like when they had Magneto actually say by any means necessary in the first movie. So they were like,
really?
Yeah, let me play that too.
Did you play that in the original?
I did.
I must have just, man, I maybe I zoned out.
Prison.
What did they think by any means necessary?
Oh, that's right. Means? That's right.
Yeah.
In the plastic prison, that's the scene where he says it?
Yeah. And they're playing chess, I believe.
Yeah, hold on, man. Yeah, it gets, they be playing in our face, man.
You did have a lot of clips. You had a lot of receipts in that first one. So I am sorry. I don't know what happened mentally when I rewatched it, but
yeah. Here it go.
This plastic prison of theirs won't hold me.
It's just hard to. It's like not very loud, so y'all might have to be quiet to hear it because they just don't turn the volume up well here.
Forever. The war is still coming, Charles, and I intend to fight it. By any means necessary. And I will always be there. Old friend.
You should have said, because I have a dream.
Shoot me in the
theater. Damn.
Yeah.
You know what? They should just double down. You know what? If Magneto's in prison, he converts to Islam. Like, let him. If they're the Algor, they just got to double down. Like,
he goes to Mutant Mecca.
Mutant Mecca.
He just changes everything around.
Hell no.
The only way it works.
Not Mutant Mecca.
Actually, you know what? Let's do a retcon. Next X-Men reboot, they're black this time. Who's gonna argue? I thought they were based off them. Who's gonna argue?
I thought it was Malcolm and Martin.
And then, they'd be up in arms if that actually happened. Like the whites would be out ready to with pitchforks if that actually happened, even though they love to feel progressive for like thinking that that's some kind of storyline that that they pulled from.
We're not just taking the redheads.
Yeah.
They took the gingers and now this.
Oh man. Hold on. Let me share the
Rouse the X-Men go to Wakanda. That's hilarious.
Y'all already have Storm is crazy. Actually, if you have to do a deep dive on Storm is probably the reason why the Marvel series alone doesn't even have a lot of Black female superheroes at her level, because of her power set, she fills so many roles. That's a hot take. Take it as you will.
That's also just a problem with superhero films in general, is that you give them these powers, but if they actually truly practice their powers in every scene, a lot of these movies wouldn't be able to exist. So you have to like depower characters all the time to even justify them being in scenes together. I mean, Batman and Superman is always the best version of this, because it's just like that should never even be a fight, even if he puts on some armor or something.
But that's what I'm saying. Don't underestimate the might of the U.S. military war machine to produce anything capable of taking on any enemy, even Superman.
You also don't want to make billionaires feel small, because Superman on the face of it, I say this to a lot of people, Superman on the face of it is a revolutionary character. What other superhero has a billionaire as their arch nemesis? Batman has to keep him in check.
Yes, but it's funny but then Superman is like betrayed as the Boy Scout, and particularly in the Dark Knight ones, right? Like he's working with the state. And then Batman is like, against the government, and he's coming out of retirement. And then Green Arrow was like, who's supposed to be like some kind of like lefty anyway, I guess. It's like hates Superman in those comics or whatever. Like they love flirting with this shit, but again, no one ever does the thing. So for me, until they do the thing, it's like whatever. Here's these two talking. That's what I was alluding to earlier. So they were in both the movies.
It's so close to his heart, these movies, and that he wanted to come back. I mean,
just got to find the
James Bond is the same story, really.
I actually thought road,
and you got
a car would come, and then he'd run behind the.
You
had said that pays good. Absolutely not. And a few were sort of coming my way around that time, and it was then sort of, I guess, the decision: did I want to do something on a sort of blockbuster scale? And the answer was yes. And I was just waiting for the right material, and I wasn't totally aware of X-Men before. I'd seen the first and the second one, which I really enjoyed, but I didn't really know the whole, the comic book series or anything like that.
Of course not.
But I read the script and I was like, wow, this Magneto guy, this Eric Lenser, I was like, the history was so rich. And for a villain, I thought he was so interesting because he was so sympathetic, because I guess you'd agree that he does nothing really for his own gains. That's what's...
No, when people say he's a villain, I think that's very simplistic. And in the history of all the civil rights movements, and I've been involved in the gay civil rights movements, there's always a divide. There's always an argument between how do we go about making our lives better? Do you do Professor X's way, which I rather approve of, standing up for yourself but explaining yourself, wanting to be part of society, or do you rather withdraw and get rather violent, as say a Malcolm X figure would be?
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, and it's about people's lives. I think that's what I wanted to play Magneto.
But I'm sure you all would agree that it's clear that the two of them have taken this history seriously and considered it carefully before sitting down for this interview, right?
Of course.
That was
it's funny.
Right. Yeah.
There's so many better revolutionary. If you did want to make the case that Malcolm X ever had a violent streak, which is not true. There's much better revolutionary figures during the civil rights era that probably fit a bit more one-to-one of being like a full-on supremacist-minded separatist with a violent streak of attacking the state. There's so much more better examples. Using Malcolm X is, I just don't understand what happened in the cultural zeitgeist for him to be that opposite binary.
White folks
scared.
Yeah, because the thing about Malcolm at that time was Malcolm would tell you to your face. He would call you a devil to your face, and that because it's like black people. If you talk to black people like at a plantation, I'm sure we were always saying these people are devils, but he would go on national TV, backed by a whole black organization to call you a devil to your face, and was just like very, ho hum about it. Like but then they turned him into this villain. I mean, a lot of it is like the Hate That Hate Produced was a documentary that was made, but what was it, by CBS, Dr. Ball, and they made a documentary on the Nation of Islam, and they made them sound like a bunch of crazy zealots. That's kind of a part that gets left out of. It's not in the movie really either. But that's what launches the Nation of Islam into the white consciousness is the Hate That Hate Produced. So the title kind of gives it away.
There was also, I mean, there was also, and there's some good scholarship on this, that there was a concerted effort in the press to create that binary, to produce King as the acceptable and Malcolm as the one you don't want, and so it's just, this is just really a continuation of all of that, and again, it's just all distilling white fantasy and fear through name checking revolutionaries and heroes.
And Malcolm just becomes an avatar for white people's fear in general. Like, so he's not even really unique. It's just there's always a fear of the black man that wants to come and kill all the white people for all the shit that we've done, and who doesn't forgive, and who's unrelenting, and who's gonna burn the plantation down. Like, that is always a fear, and sometimes a fair one to have, I think. Like, so it's like there's always that. So Malcolm just becomes an avatar for that character that really, I think he might be the most well-known version of it, but there's always somebody that white people will play that kind of avatar off on, even when that person might not even live up to it in a serious way. Like, so even somebody that might be whack, it becomes the revolutionary or the angry black man that we all have to be fearful of in a given moment. Like, we were talking about Obama earlier, but thinking about someone like Reverend Wright, right? Like, he becomes this.
That's a good one.
Oh my God, Obama came from there. That's what he was hearing every Sunday. Like, like, God damn America. Like, like it. There's always that, like, because they don't, white people don't know black folks, so they need these corollaries or these avatars to get to know us, because they're not actually. Most of them don't hang out with any of us in any real sense. So Malcolm becomes like, oh, that's what the Negroes really think, like, so then King becomes the savior, and then that's how white folks conceive of it. Then you understand why that becomes an analogy that is acceptable. I don't know why we as Black African people will accept that analogy, because it doesn't really help us.
Because Godfrey said he sat with Stan Lee, and but seriously, I'm joking, but look at how he's conveying that in that interview and how it's being received. They're like, oh, whoa, that's
that with an important, powerful white man. So therefore, what I say, everything you say is null and void. Everything I say is important.
Yeah, I'm an authority.
I hold some kind of clout. I have an authority.
And that was deep. Like, and the message was deep. Like, that is Malcolm and Martin. Whoa.
Never forget how, when Stanley interprets civil rights movements, remember that he saw the Black Panthers and said, you know what? New villain for the Fantastic Four. Like, that was the original conception of Black Panther. Never forget.
Yeah, because Black Panther, the comic, comes out before the Black Panther Party was, at least the one in Oakland was created, right? So it's not based on, people sometimes think it was based on the Black Panther Party. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with it. There is some that say it was about Lumumba and things of that nature.
That's the version I rock with.
Yeah.
So if there's compelling evidence to the contrary, I'm happy to continue learning. But that's the version I get. I
think when you had Dr. Todd Stephen Burroughs on once, he said once the Black Panther Party came out, they started watering down Black Panther in the comics. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I will just shout out to Todd, and folks should get his book. I should have had it ready, but he wrote a really good book summarizing the history of the Black Panther comic and character and all of this history. So definitely let's not rely on my memory. I think, but that does sound like that was what happened. And what is also clear, just from my relatively novice, look at this history, the people writing comics, and I used to read them pretty closely, and even as a kid could see some of the themes of the day in them. They're in the world, so they're having thoughts about the world. They may be awfully wrong and white and liberal and all of that, but they're in the world. So the idea, so it's very like, that's why I'm like, I don't have a problem believing that they would have associated an attempt to they make some reference to Lumumba, or they're thinking about Malcolm and Martin at some point in some kind of twisted way. We just have to be clear not to accept their very narrow, limited, and backwards versions. So like somebody in that room, it would have been great for anyone on screen or in our associated spaces to be in that room with Godfrey, to be like, I'm sure you had a great time with Stan, and that's wonderful. And I hope he told you a lot of wonderful stories, and you had all the good times, whatever, blah 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 blah. But that's just not it.
Nah.
So
Paul Smith says, Molombo, tell me who's more revolutionary than Malcolm X. I said that in terms of the context of what Magneto is trying to represent. I think for me personally, I think it would be more of a Marcus Garvey or a Bobby Seale if they were really trying to find like a Black revolutionary figure that was closer to Magneto. I don't agree with that connection, but certainly more in line than Malcolm X.
Yeah, I mean, again, they don't have an accurate history of any of these people, right?
No.
So we might know the differences. They see angry Black man who doesn't want to be around white people. That's the end of what they need to know. Like it doesn't matter what he believes and what organization he comes from, his evolution. And even with Malcolm, they love to play on, just like Claremont was saying in that interview, this evolution. So, when he was in the Nation of Islam, he hated white people, but then he went to Mecca, and apparently he only went to Mecca to meet good white people. And then he comes back and he's like, this is what we get in the movie. And then he's like, I've seen decent white people and I've changed my mind. That's the only thing he learns overseas, apparently. And then, so they like to play on this arc that they've evolved. They've seen better things. And it's not to endorse one view or the other. I'm just saying, like, for them, it's not about Malcolm maybe understanding the struggle more broadly. It's just he's not as scary, he's not gonna.
And it really doesn't matter what Black man that they choose. They're gonna always white people always need a boogeyman to project their fears onto.
Exactly.
So
yeah. And that happens both micro and macro. That happens at the job and in the media, like that just happens, anywhere you go. That's a thing, particularly Black men have to deal with, like where, we just become that avatar if we don't want to play the game, so to speak. A few other things that we can get out of here. This was just something we said in the last episode to address the allegory directly. There was like 5 different points. We've kind of already hit on them throughout the conversation, but just to be more explicit, the number one point out of everything that we've said that does not make this make sense as an allegory, because that's the thing people will say, well, yeah, maybe that's not how it originated, but it still, was a thing. And it's just like, no. But the number one thing that, doesn't really hold up at all is that they're white. So that really should be the end of the conversation. So it's like they're just not, they're not even Black. So like, why are we even comparing them to, for me, that's kind of the end. Like they're not Black people. They don't have to deal with the world in the same way. One of them comes out of Westchester in a mansion. I think Ryan joked about how Martin Luther King had a mansion in Atlanta from the civil rights money in the last episode.
Yeah,
yep.
It's like in a paramilitary group in the
basement. And a sports drink.
Yeah. So for me, like, I mean, really, we did all of this, but really, if someone comes to you, it's just be like they're white, and that really could be the end of the conversation. We don't really have to talk about.
That was
We don't have to read no comic books. We don't have to go find no interviews. We don't have to find clips. It's just they're white, and that's really the end of it for me. So like that doesn't. It just doesn't hold up on that basis. Like, we don't got to get anything that deep, honestly. We don't have to go dialectical for this one. It's just like they're white.
After all my logic and my theory,
yeah,
they're white.
Yeah.
I had a mother so you ignorant hear me.
Yeah, like that's for me the it. But if you want to keep going, Professor X is literally not nonviolent, and I have a whole piece I'm working on about some of the challenges of nonviolence. But that aside, like Professor X literally has a paramilitary group, like Ryan was just joking about. So how is that? Like we've talked a lot about Malcolm and the problems with that, but the King shit is just as disrespectful, honestly. You know, because it's like Dr. King was explicitly nonviolent, you know, opposed wars, and you know, Professor X works with the CIA.
So, but I thought so that was one area of not disagreement, but slight, you know, I don't know, something that when you all made that point in the first video, that the way I was seeing it is that yes, it's all you're right. Everything is a distortion and a misrepresentation. But from the perspective they're coming to it, King was nonviolent, but also direct action. But his direct action was not a direct action form that was certainly not overtly military or involving some sort of arms. So from the logic that these filmmakers are coming to it, relatively speaking, when Professor X says, I do, you know, he does have a paramilitary force. They engage in violence. They're capable of all kinds of stuff. They train for it all the time as well.
In the basement of the mansion. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the simple fact that they won't aggressively use that to overtly attack humans or all humans is, in their logic, I think all that they need to make that comparison.
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair addition. I accept that. I think that's a fair addition, that where the violence was directed is a point of emphasis. Like I said, most of the comics, they're fighting mutants, you know, particularly maybe not so much in all the comics, but particularly in the movies and particularly in the cartoons, it's often another mutant. That's the problem, you know. So but even in that sense, I would say Dr. King's nonviolent resistance, his confrontation was with power. It was not, he didn't protest Malcolm, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He wasn't like, he was going to some of the most dangerous places in the United States and putting his body on the line and bringing other people with him to do it.
He wasn't doing sit-ins at the breakfast programs and
no.
You Black Panthers, we're gonna sit in on your lunch counter until you. Yeah, you're right. That's right.
Like, yeah, he was not. He was going to the, you know, the Bull Connor, or you know, someplace like he was going to where you might not make it home, right? Like that's what he was doing. And Professor X also, I never liked him as a character, just as a nerd, not even politically. Because I'm like, you always like, you let everybody else go and die and fight. Like you sit at home half the time and you got all this power. You half time ain't even out there with him. You know, like, so I never really like rocked with that anyway. Because it's just like, at least Dr. King it would be as if Dr. King stayed in Atlanta half the time and let everybody else go and get their ass beat.
And just thought about them. I'm thinking about you activists out there marching. I can see
thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers.
Like I never really found, like, at least Magneto, whatever we say politically, is a very interesting just character. Like I think his powers are dope, like the ability to control metal and all the stuff that he can do. I just find it to be entertaining. At least Professor X being like a mind reader and all that, I just find it to be like a boring trump card anyway. Like, so, you know, so my, like, King is not King doesn't really correlate that much with him, other than this, I guess, tendency to try to live in harmony that people want to point to. Like he wants to have peace with the people who are seen as an enemy, who might want to destroy you. Like that's really the only correlation. But the means in which he does it, I don't think are even close. You're on mute.
Yeah.
My bad. Part of his argument was that his king was that tactically we can't go at this country militarily because we'll be crushed.
Right.
But to your point, Professor X's that parallel doesn't exist for him because he's got all the power. He'd be like, there's no military that's going to crush us, so we could just go ahead and implement some justice out here.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, Magneto, that's where Magneto was right. He's like, if we actually did come together, we would be on top. Like that part is correct. Like because we are mutants, we have superpowers. You know, we can easily overpower them if we really put our minds to it. But Professor X never wanted to do that. You know, so it really, I think he's more of a Booker T. Washington than he is a Dr. King. You know, so
agreed.
He had his own school. You know, he kind of had his own kind of little separate thing going for his own people, but he was very accommodationist and, you know, very like, we want to assimilate into the larger society, and he cut deals with, you know, the state. But again, even Booker T is looking at, like you said, Dr. Ball, we're under attack. So you can always at least give these leaders that credit, is they're looking at a situation where it's bleak and they're trying to make something out of it, even if you don't like Booker T. In this case, it's like, you know, mutants are getting attacked, but it's also like, you know, y'all literally, like, you can literally put a machine on your head and tell everybody what to do. You know,
which he does frequently. Like in the comics, Professor X frequently prods into people's heads, makes them change their thoughts. At one point, he lobotomizes Magneto, so Magneto's like forgets the whole Brotherhood of Mutant thing. Like Professor X is willing to do everything except change the status quo.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally, what's that machine called? What is that machine
Cerebro?
Called? Yeah, you can just Cerebro. You could just Cerebro away racism, all of that. Like, you could just be like, you know, y'all don't believe all mutants are great people. Boom. You know,
not to mention, is he not the most powerful telepath in the world?
Nah, that's Jean Grey,
or at least second. Okay,
they jump back and forth with it.
When she becomes Phoenix, she's, you know, you're not really nobody's messing with that.
But none of them ever said free healthcare.
Nothing.
You're not a racist.
Like, even with Jean Grey, like when she becomes Phoenix, like he's always trying to suppress her like powers, you know.
Yeah.
So then it comes out in this really evil way, because like he just cuts off and severs her brain where she don't even know that she's got it like that, you know. Like he's also a very manipulative guy in the comics. Like he's not, you know. So I'm saying King, I don't think is, again, there's a lot of criticisms to be made of King, but you know, we're not gonna use this episode to bash either one of them, because they already put them in a bad bag with this comparison. so I'll save my criticisms for another episode. But you know, but yeah, like, I mean, we've already really got at the point about Malcolm and Magneto, and how Magneto's a literal, like, you know, terrorist in the comics, and you know, there's just no example of Malcolm doing that. And this whole like, well, he's just traumatized, and how, you know, so Magneto is in many ways a reactionary. You know, Malcolm's more of a revolutionary. We talked about the primary targets being mutants. Something we named in the first episode was the Morlocks, because they're the mutants that cannot pass. Like, you know,
they live in the sewers.
Yeah. So they can't just walk around, and, you know, unless they like, you know, like Professor X, you would never know he was anything but a white man until he's in your brain, and you're like, okay, you know. But until then, he's just a dude in a wheelchair, you know, like that's that. You know, Cyclops is like, he's got some weird glasses, but other than that, you don't really know that he shoots lasers out of his eyes or anything. But the Morlocks, one, it didn't have very strong powers, because that's another thing. There's some mutants that have pretty puny, you know, weak powers. I think if anyone watches The Boys, they do a good job of making fun of some of these things. but you know, they live in sewers and they're poor, so sometimes they come up to the land and try to steal shit, and X-Men will like, you know,
Beat them
fight
up.
them. You
Go
know,
Wow.
beat up on them. Sometimes follow them into the sewers and everything.
Yo, Allende, salute. We've been monetized for about 20, maybe 20 hours. So welcome back. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. And way to set an example. Thank you very much.
thank you. Yeah, so the X-Men like were not kind to the Morlocks, you know. So it's like, you know, again, it's always mutants fighting mutants here. Like I don't like, why don't the mutants rarely are fighting humans? Usually the mutants only when they fight humans, they're fighting like the human creations, like the Sentinels or something like that. And that's where you get like the Days of Future Past. You get some of that in that flick. And then it's also just like metaphors in general, these comparisons to oppression. We just live in that era, like we talked about today. Too many of people are like, you know, giving too many people just want to make like these weak analogies about shit as opposed to just letting things stand for what they are, you know. So the blacks and the Jews, like we share the same struggle until you get Israel, and like that's over, you know what I'm saying? So or the, you know, and so X-Men becomes an allegory for like everybody who feels like they've been different, they're mutants, whether it's due to, you know, people being queer, people being black, or people being Jewish, or people being disabled. Like it's that really generic intersectionality kind of DEI thing where you just throw everything in the same bag and everybody just has a difference, and we just need to all learn how to live together. And X-Men becomes this kind of liberal aspiration for it, right? You know. So it's just like I don't know if you have anything to say. That's really all the points I have. We're about at 2 hours, but yeah, I'm just like, you know, like don't stop making these lazy comparisons. Like it doesn't really work usually ever. It's okay if you just want to do it for fun and you just want to mess around. Like we've been joking the whole episode, but stop trying to teach history and real critical theory and shit off of lazy Hollywood produced. Like, please stop. You know, like, can we just not, you know, can we just stop doing that? Like, I remember way back, me and Ryan were at something, and this dude, we were way back in that when we were in college, and this dude comes up to me, and he's like, which one you like? Malcolm X or Martin Luther King? And I was like, bro, it's not. I was like, it's not Biggie and Pac, bro. Like it's not it's not Jay-Z or Nas or, you know, Kendrick or Drake. Like that's not what we doing here, you know.
We should have a Malcolm Martin versus though.
Oh man.
Bar for bar.
They gonna read
Don't give people ideas. Don't give people ideas.
So before we get out of here, I just want to salute you for doing this, Black Myths, Molombo, for your work as well. It's nice to meet you as well. Definitely want to re-encourage everybody to we had some fun, you know, whatever today, but definitely check the original Black Myths discussion. They add all these other receipts in there as well, and it's and then you can even revisit, like, you know, I think there was Cam newlywed discussion and ring jokes and stuff. So you can revisit some of the brightest moments in Black Myths history as you review the video and all of that. And this has been fun. I really appreciate this. This is, you know, salute. This has been great. Thanks everybody.
No, it's fun. Like, you know, again, I don't normally do reaction episodes, but I was like, I literally can just scratch off or just dust off the notes that we had for the original and just do it again with a little less seriousness. But
it's not Stan Lee level, but I think you did pretty good. You know, it's not as good as sitting with Stan, but you did pretty good. Pretty good.
Well, you know, it just came to me, you know, like it was just like it was a gift. Like it was just gifted to me. So I just couldn't help but, you know, like just I had to give it back to the people, you know what I'm saying? So but yeah, thank you. Did you want to say anything, Molombo? Thanks. I know we really just met on the fly. You know, I saw the video. Thanks for showing us love. Like I said, most of the time people don't even tag us, you know, they just be still in analysis.
That's crazy. No, I appreciate for being here again. Long time listener, long time fan. Keep doing what you guys are doing. If there's another distillation of blurred content, you know I'm there. Yeah, I enjoyed analysis a lot today. If you guys want some more blurred stuff and you're into like Dungeons and Dragons type stuff, check out my game. Let's go.
All right, for sure. And
I
yeah,
definitely need to tap in.
And your video on that, I mean, I appreciate you doing it, because even though I said people don't reference us, it's like some of this is just knowledge, right? So like the fact that that shit already is at like 100,000 views, you know, and it's doing numbers, like that's part of what we want is people to take this further. So I appreciate it. You know, like we don't need to be like bowed down to because we read other people's shit to make our episode. So that's how this is supposed to work. So definitely appreciate it.
And when Hollywood comes and offers me the role playing you, I will definitely turn it down. I promise you.
That's all I ask, brother.
I got you.
That's all I ask, brother.
I got you.
Hey, did you want to shout out your social or whatever real quick? Or I know you got music and everything. Did you want to shout that out?
Yeah. I'm Hey_Molombo everywhere. My main platforms are Instagram and TikTok. I will be trying to enter the, God forbid, the YouTube era next year. But yeah, you can find most of my vertical reels on Instagram and TikTok. That's where most people know me from. I got music as well. It's like pop rap. If you like Kid Cudi, people say I sound like Kid Cudi if he took his antidepressants. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Oh, damn.
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
His antidepressants, damn.
We're gonna have Kid Cudi play you in a movie.
Hopefully nobody blows up your car.
My brother in Christ.
Like, don't get your car blown up. But
bruh, yo, this was fun. I'm glad we got to revisit this myth. One of the more lighthearted myths, even if it does have like a little bit of a treacherous origins. But yeah, this was dope. That's all I gotta say.
I bet. Yeah, we'll close out. Peace, everybody. This is the first episode I ever did where I read the comments in real time. But probably won't ever do it again. But for this, it was like whatever.
And we were live too.
Yeah. But yeah, peace out. You know, thank you everybody for coming to do this on the fly. Like we literally put this together yesterday evening. So, and I know Molombo, you're in the Congo, so you're on a whole different time. Like it's like 11 o'clock there or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 10 p.m. Shouts out. Yeah, we're in Africa for a little bit right now.
That's what's up.
Congo.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
All
right, y'all.
All right, peace, everybody. Thanks.